Ben Prater Show for your tweets. You'll see a picture of myself and Pomona Sprout, Mira Margolis, who was an excellent guest on Elise Rayner's afternoon show here on BBC Radio Bristol just a couple of hours ago. A couple of hours? Not even that, about half an hour ago. My 6-year-old son is going to love me, Professor Sprout from Harry Potter. Forget all the other stuff she's done, Shakespeare and what have you. It's Pomona Sprout that he knows her from. You can see that picture on at Ben Prater Show. You can also see some pictures of cider and cheese, which I partook in today. Locally sourced, of course, cider and cheese up at Rich Cornock's Titherington Farm, out there in front of Newhouse Farm. You might remember it was 6 months ago that we made this farmhouse cheese, and I won't tell you how it was until Friday. You can get a sneak preview of it with the photographs on at Ben Prater Show. But if you just want to wait till Friday, that's fine. But it's a highlight of this week. But there are many highlights to this week because we've been out and about on Rich's farm on
Ben Prater, get off my land!
Who are Cornock?
Oh, you are speaking the lingo now, aren't you? You've got used to it.
It sort of just comes to me as I'm driving up the A38. I tend to just feel like I'm a farmer.
Do you come into the countryside and just start feeling it, do you, Ben?
I get to Rudgeway and something switches in my mind.
And you need a bit of straw in your mouth or something, do you?
First of all, thank you for not defecting to the opposition, the dark side.
Yeah,
you were approached, weren't you, Rich?
I had someone from another radio station say, can you come and have a little chat about how wonderful we are? And I thought, well, that's not really going to happen, is it? Because I think Radio Bristol's all right. Did
you have a few uneasy nights thinking about whether you should,
About 3 seconds, mate.
Oh, that's lovely.
I like this piece, so I'm not going to jeopardise what we're doing.
They came up with some spurious claim that cows like another radio station.
Another radio station? Do you think cows can tune a radio? I think maybe the people in the milk and parlour might do that for them, don't you?
How much personality have they got?
What, cows?
Yeah.
Oh, I tell you what, we're going to see some in a bit. We're going to go down and see our young cattle in a minute, and you can tell me how much personality they've got if you don't get flattened by them.
In the meantime, here we are at the... we're at the start of your conservation
Well, it's part of the conservation zone, and I thought after we went to see that school last week, was it, or 2 weeks ago, St Mary's School?
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic bunch down there. I'm really inspired to see those kids looking at the conservation and planting an orchard. Incidentally, I hope that some other schools might jump on board and maybe plant a little orchard out. If they do,
we're available to cut the ribbon.
Yeah, and then perhaps they can get in touch with you if they've done it, because it'd be lovely to think that there was like a network of little school orchards around the county or around the Bristol area, But yeah, I thought we'd come and see this little part of our farm. It's a green lane, and you can see either side we've got 2 hedgerows, and I was in a scheme called Countryside Stewardship, which was ran for 10 years, and part of that scheme paid for the conservation work on the hedgerows, which involved replanting some of the areas that were, didn't have any trees or shrubs or plants in them. So what we did, we planted some new hedgerow plants in here, and you can see now, I mean, you can't really tell, Ben, can you, that this is new hedge. It's got established now. This is probably planted 7 or 8 years ago. And if we walk on down, what we'll do is we'll stop by a little bit of red tape, and I'll show you something else, OK?
Red tape?
Red tape.
I thought you were trying to cut red tape.
Well, I'm trying to cut red tape.
You haven't got any time for red tape, Cornock.
Well, we've got time for it here. Here you go, look, you can see the hedgerow benefit here. Look, we've got some dog roses growing there. And a couple of things about dog roses, they produce a little red rose hip, and in the war they used to collect them for rose hip syrup. But the other thing as well, which you probably don't know being a little townie, is that they're fantastic for itching powder. And if
they make you itch, or they stop itching?
Yeah, they make you itch. Right, let me just get you.
In a second.
Here we go. This is a rose. No,
this
is not for now. This is when they go red. Okay, so that's going to grow big, and then it'll grow red. And if you break that open. And I remember this from when I used to go on the coach at school. You can see in the side there's these little seeds that got very fibrous little fibres on them. Now, as a little boy, when I was growing up, I knew that in the countryside, if you rub that down someone's back, it itches like mad.
Devious devil.
Yeah, isn't it fun?
Who did you like to do it on most?
Well,
who was the
anyone who sat in front of me on the coach. But can you see the little fibres coming off there?
Yeah.
Now, if you put that down someone's back, even now, I won't do it to you, it itches like mad. And that's the countryside itching powder.
And what are they called again?
It's called dog rose, but if you look in the hedgerows in about October, they're just red rose hips.
Talking of plants, what are those flowers that meet me now at the entrance to Newhouse Farm?
Red hot
pokers?
Great
red hot pokers?
Red hot pokers. I don't know what their proper name is.
Do you get those in a town?
Well, you get them anywhere. They're not wild. They're a garden plant. Here we go then. Here's the red tape. Can you see that?
I can.
And you see it's got number 6 written on it. Well, there's 50 of these in this hedgerow, and these are actually dormouse boxes. And
can they get up there?
They can, because the dormouse does like to climb hedgerows, OK? In the winter it's dormant and goes down to the bottom of the hedgerow. In the summertime it'll come out, it'll produce a little nest, and that's what they're hoping it'll do in that dormouse box. And what they're doing a study paid for by the National Grid, and down this entire run of hedgerow and some of the other hedgerows in the field, they've got these boxes, and someone comes once a month to survey them to see whether the dormouse are actually active in this area. And the reason for this is they're protected species, but they're also quite endangered species. They're not common throughout the UK. So what they're trying to do is map out where they are, but also it's to do with the fact, you see the power line just there?
I was about to say, it's sponsored by National Grid.
And this is the reason they've got to be in the zone within that power line, because what they do some tree works and things when they're reducing the canopy of the trees below the power line. They want to make sure they're not disturbing areas where the dormice are.
Is that through a real sense of wanting to do it, or just through guilt because they know the effect they're having on the country?
I'm not sure, but I think, it's how business has changed, isn't it? At one time, any
they wouldn't have given us stuff.
No, they wouldn't have come in and just done what they like to. But now, maybe through legislation and also because people are more environmentally aware, these sort of things are going on. They've also done a newt survey as well on the ponds near the power line. They did a survey for great crested newts, but they didn't find any newts. They just found didn't find any great crested newts, just found a few little newts. But I'm really interested to see whether they find any dormice, because I don't know myself whether there are any here, and it'll be a sign of whether we're doing the right thing with our planning. Because I just picked up that little rose hip, and there's some hawthorn berries on there. Just see the red tape you just see underneath?
Yeah.
And there's some hazel down there. These are all things that the dormouse live on. We're providing quite a tall hedgerow here.
Beautiful. It looks never-ending, this
lane,
it is.
When you get down the bottom, you see it's even better because it forms a little natural arch.
And we'll be off to near the bottom in the second part of Ben Prater Get Off My Land today at 6:20. Don't go anywhere until then. Come with us for the next 2 hours at least.